Terastilization is still a phenomenon that we know nothing about. While we may have discovered Terapagos, while we may know that Terapagos exists, we do not know how Terastilization works. We know of Terapagos' powers, but we don't know how it's related to Terastilization. What causes Terastilization? What really is it? Yeah, it changes the Pokemon's type, but where does it come from? How does it work? None of this is explained, and you would think with a Pokemon being called Terapagos, there would be some kind of explanation or something. It is the hidden treasure of Area Zero, but that treasure does not unveil any answers, at least as far as we know. Supposedly, Briar had notes on it and all, and who knows, maybe she actually discovered something. I doubt it, but even if she did, it's with Sada and Turo now, not with us, so that goes out the window. So all that we can really do is find the pieces that are scattered throughout the game, and connect them to form our own kind of conclusion as to what the Terastal Phenomenon really is. And from everything that I could piece together, there was only one conclusion that I could come to. Let's break this down to a few parts. First, we'll go over the Terastal mechanic just as it is, just the mechanic itself, and then we'll talk about Terapagos and its powers, and then we'll cover any other necessary story beats that we should go over to complete this theory. The Terastal Phenomenon was first discovered 140 years ago when Heath and his team went down to Area Zero in the Great Crater. When Heath and his team tried to remove the Pokemon from Area Zero in the Great Crater, they discovered that, hey, the Terastal Phenomenon just went away, it just disappeared. So at that point in time, Terastilization could only occur within Area Zero. It was only 10 years prior to the events of Scarlet and Violet that Sada and Turo, through their research, created the Tera Orb. This in turn made it so that anyone outside of Area Zero could terastilize their Pokemon. And there's some interesting things to the Tera Orb that you may have not noticed, but now it's more visible because of the Indigo Disk DLC. These points were discovered by my friend Soul Silver Art, at least that's where I heard it first, so gotta give a shout out to him. Believe it or not, with the Tera Orb, you're pretty much summoning Terapagos. So one thing is, the way you throw the Tera Orb, it's almost like you're catching a new Pokemon. That's kind of the animation that is used when you throw the Tera Orb, right? So it's almost like you're calling upon a Pokemon from somewhere else. And the thing here is, you are in two different ways, one of which I'll explain later on, but this main way that I'm talking about right now, right here, is that you're summoning Terapagos. Because when you hear the Terastal Phenomenon sound go off, it's actually just Terapagos' cry. I'll let you take a listen for yourself. So on one hand, it to me seems like, yeah, you're bringing Terapagos from this Tera Orb, to your Pokemon. That's one part of it, and that would explain why Terastilization is able to occur outside of Area Zero, because if we go off the notion that you need Terapagos to terastilize, and Terapagos is only in Area Zero, now with this Tera Orb, Terapagos is in the palm of your hand, right? So that's one aspect, but please keep this in mind for later, this whole thing about catching a Pokemon and maybe summoning it, or the animation that the player character does is the Pokeball animation, they're throwing the Pokeball animation as if they're catching a new Pokemon. Just keep that in mind. Also, these eyes across all of the different crowns or hats, it's almost like Terapagos is watching everything. This is, we've been saying this from day one. It just seems like, okay, Terapagos is everywhere. Pretty much is, but now we know that whatever this is it's all fueled by Terapagos, so it fits the build. And moving on to Terapagos' powers, while we didn't really learn too much about this Pokemon, there are a few things that we know. Through its dex entry, we know that Terapagos is not one of a kind. It's not like these other legendary Pokemon, like, I don't know, Lugia and Ho, where it's said there's only one in existence. No, it's confirmed multiple Terapagos exist. In fact, there used to be a lot more, but it seems as if they went extinct. Who knows, right? But we know through the game's coding that Terapagos can either be a male or a female, but it seems that every time you catch a Terapagos in the game, it is a male. That's pretty interesting, alright? Then, if you know the lore behind Terapagos, the story with the Dragon Princess, Terapagos should have been a female, if we go by the lore that it's from. But this one is a male. just keep that in mind. It's not so important, but it will tie it into the end. Anyways, main thing to know there is there's multiple Terapagos. At least there was, maybe there still is, right? And by the end of the game, if you visit, once you catch Terapagos, you visit Kitakami, you go to the Crystal Pool, you activate the cutscene with Sada and Turo. And it seems as if Terapagos is bringing Sada and Turo from the past to the future. It's not that it seems, that's actually what's happening. So Terapagos has some kind of time and space power. It has some kind of time travel power, whatever it may be. It's not imagination and it's not dreams, right? It's not that. It is doing something with time and space, as all Pokemon games have been doing since Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I guess since Diamond and Pearl, but whatever. And it's through Sada and Turo's dialogue that we learn something quite interesting. They mention the fact that they may be from a different timeline, a different universe, the multiverse, as, again, Pokemon has been doing, I would argue, since Black and White, which we gotta talk about Black and White some other time. But anyways, this is a crazy revelation. It's not confirmed. It's not confirmed that Sada and Turo are from a different timeline, because when you go to their laboratory, you read their journal entry, and you know that for sure they met some kid at Kitakami at the Crystal Pool, and that's where the paradox happens. You give them Briar's book, and through Briar's book, they're able to create the time machine and all this good jazz and discover Terapagos, and that in turn starts the events of Scarlet and Violet. It goes through, and then it's back to you giving the book to Sada and Turo. It's a paradox, right? But there is a chance that in every universe, Sada and Turo meets a different protagonist from a different universe. Kind of like that, right? That would explain as to why they're saying that maybe they're from a different timeline. It's also possible that they're not, but the idea of a different timeline is quite fascinating, because all this while we've been thinking about time travel as in a linear time. Like, okay, these ancient Paradox Pokemon from Scarlet are from our past. These future Paradox Pokemon from Violet are from our future. No, it's possible that there's a different universe that just has ancient looking Pokemon or ancient Pokemon, or these are the ancient Pokemon from a different universe, like the legitimate past Pokemon from a different universe. Who knows? Legitimate future Pokemon from a different universe, or maybe this is just how the Pokemon look overall in that universe. We do not know. The main thing here is the possibility of a new timeline or a different universe or the multiverse is now open through this one piece of dialogue. And this is where it gets interesting, because if you remember, Sada and Turo's time machine is actually powered by Terastal energy. So what does Terastal energy, the Terastal Phenomenon, have to do with the time machine? Yeah, it's Terapagos' power, sure, but there must be something connecting all of these things together. The Terastal Phenomenon, the time machine, Terapagos' powers, they all have to be one thing if this is what's calling upon the Terastilized Pokemon, right? Now, I'm gonna give my explanation in a second, but let me just try to make sense out of this, right? Terapagos has a time and space power. The professors have used Terapagos' energy to activate and use their time machine. This adds up, fine. This makes perfect sense. In fact, that time machine might even be going to different universes, different points in time, different points in space, different universes altogether. We do not know. Based off their dialogue, we can infer that this is possibly what's happening, right? And that would explain the Paradox Pokemon. They're not from our time, they're from a completely different time and space. It's a completely different universe. Who knows from what time period, but the completely different universe, it's possible. Where does the Terastilization phenomenon happen? Where does it fall in all of this? I'll tell you where it falls. The only possible explanation that I can think of is that when you terastilize a Pokemon, you are receiving a typing of a variant of a Pokemon that you are using, and that typing or that power is being bestowed upon you by Terapagos. And I hope that made sense. If it didn't, let me break this down. Take any Paradox Pokemon as an example. I don't know what Pokemon's on the thumbnail yet, but I'm gonna say Iron Thorns, okay? Iron Thorns is my favorite from the original batch. Iron Thorns is obviously a variant of Tyranitar. So when Tyranitar terastallizes into an electric type Pokemon, I believe that it is taking Iron Thorns is electric typing and just using it for the time being. Now, where's Iron Thorns? You're saying the Iron Thorns from Area Zero? No, I'm saying Iron Thorns from its own timeline, from a completely different universe. Terapagos is just bringing upon that power, that energy, and bestowing upon Tyranitar. Let's say there's a different variant of Tyranitar that's like Rock Fire. That fire typing from that Pokemon is now going to come and be bestowed upon Tyranitar here. Similarly, this can be said and done to all of these Pokemon. So when you terastallize your Charizard into a Dragon type, maybe there's a Dragon type Charizard, a Dragon Paradox Charizard out there somewhere in the multiverse, and Terapagos is taking upon those powers. Because remember, its power is not imagination, it's not dream, though I would love it to be one of those because it just makes things easier, but oh well. It is time travel. It is time travel, space travel, whatever. It's time-space, it's a time-space phenomenon thing, right? Also, this explains all the Pokemon in the Terra raid dens. It's possible that they're coming from different points of our time. Different points in our timeline, or, you know, they're just transported mysteriously. Kind of like how Looker was in Oras. He just, like, randomly got transported through a wormhole. Kind of like that, but with Pokemon. Or these are Pokemon from other universes that are just appearing in our Terra raid dens. How do you explain the fact that they're regular Infernape's and Blastoises and Chestnuts and all that good jazz? Well, it could be that they're from different versions. Like Scarlet is one universe, Violet's one universe, and just pulling from there. Kind of like that, but it explains the Terra raid dens regardless. You're pulling Pokemon from different points of time and space. Easy explanation, and that is what it is when you relate it to Terapagos' power. So this checks out one more box. I gotta give a shout out to Zach and Raph for this, actually. You'd be surprised, they mentioned this one to me. But regardless, the box checks out here too. Everything makes sense with this explanation, which is what we're looking for. Now before I move forward with the rest of this video, I just have to say two things. One is that I don't even consider this my theory or my idea. I consider it Toby's idea because we talked about it over a call, and I asked the question, like, how do you explain Terastal Phenomenon? And he told me this, but then when we talked about it later, he's like, no, I told him this. But that doesn't make sense to me. So we have like a little paradox situation going on ourselves where he thinks it's me, I think it's him. Alright, so I'm giving credits to him. If he wants to give credits to me, whatever, I don't care. But you can call it our theory. I just had to put it out there because Toby's leaving YouTube. It's all sad, boys, but I'm happy for him. But gotta give credit where credit's due, especially since it's his last year on YouTube. Give him a big hug and shout out and subscribe just for the one time, the last time. Also, while you're here, please subscribe to my channel because I'm gonna be making some more videos on all this Scarlet and Violet stuff. I was about to say nonsense. It is kind of nonsense, but it's kind of crazy. It's fun nonsense, if that makes any sense. So hit that little bell icon and yeah, give me a like or a dislike depending on how you feel about the video. I want to know, so be honest with your opinion there. Like I said, there are multiple Terapagos. Who's to say that there isn't just a Terapagos in every universe? And you know, it's Terapagos summoning different Terapagos, and those Terapagos are the eyes that you see through the Terra crowns and all. It's not our Terapagos looking through with the eyes on the crown, it's other Terapagos. It's possible, I'm not saying that's guaranteed. I'm not saying any of this is guaranteed, but this last bit I'm not too sure about for sure. And the main reason for me to really say that is because of the stellar typing, the stellar Terra typing, because that is Terapagos on top of Terapagos. I guess it's just Terapagos for any Pokemon that's not Terapagos. I said Terapagos too many times. You basically have a little Terapagos on top as the hat, right? So for me, it's like, if this aspect is true, that you are pulling typings from different universes, different, you know, multiverses and all, then I would say for the stellar type, the only explanation is you're pulling a different Terapagos. That's the only way I can make sense out of it. Otherwise, I don't know how to explain the stellar typing. Now, when it comes to Ogerpon's Terra forms, the Terastal state forms, I got no clue how to explain this one. If you have any ideas, please let me know in the comment section down below. But as far as I got nothing. I really do not know. Maybe Ogerpon is a Pokemon that doesn't have other variants in different universes and timelines, but that still doesn't explain why it has 4 masks that can terastallize. So this is as far as the theory goes. But again, for me, it's like the Terastal Phenomenon, energy, Terra Orbs, all that jazz has to do with time travel. There's no question about it, because otherwise none of it would make sense. And I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather have Ogerpon not make sense than the whole thing about the Gen 9 mechanic, the whole story aspect, the whole thing that Briar was supposed to go out and discover, but dang it, she didn't do her goddamn job. She was absolutely useless, didn't do anything at all, didn't explain anything at all. I hate her. So I'm here trying to make sense out of it, alright? I won't lie to you, all this time I was really thinking, did Sada and Turo really time travel? Did they really make it to a different point in time and space? And after all this, I gotta say, yeah, AI Sada and AI Turo, they definitely made it. I wasn't convinced. I know many of you are gonna laugh and be like, what's wrong with you? Of course they made it. No, I wasn't convinced. I really thought something else happened, or it failed or something like that. I didn't think it was a real time machine. But at the end of all this, find out that, yeah, this whole time, it really has been as simple as it is just time travel. And I feel like everything in Pokemon has been this. Since Diamond and Pearl, even a little bit of Black and White, X and Y not so much, but Sun and Moon, now here in Scarlet and Violet, it's just been time and space stuff, and it's been going crazy. I hope they find a way to overarch it and make it a bigger narrative, a bigger story, but who knows how far it's going to go. But that is my explanation of the Terastal Phenomenon, what the Terastal Phenomenon really is, how it's connected to Terapagos and the entire story, and everything else, how it's connected to its own powers. You guys are going to let me know how you feel about my explanation of the Terastal Phenomenon. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think it is? I'd be curious to know if anyone has any other ideas. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you over on the next video, alright? Later. Bye.